challenge by far, by a country mile, was the Grand Palais, Paris. Early on, meeting with Rob Hardy, it became apparent that they had no real idea of what they wanted to put in there. It was going to be a scene where Tom and Henry, are in the gantries. They're going to swing through. They're going to land, smash through a window. There's going to be a fight sequence. There's a toilet set that's going to get smashed up. But what was happening under them and in the Palais, and I don't know if you've been in the Grand Palais, but it's like, walking into St Paul's on steroids, or, it's like Ali Pali that's been totally beefed up. It's huge, it's immense. They used to use it to, they built it, I think, indeed, to store the parts when they built the Eiffel Tower. So it's one of the most iconic buildings in Paris, and but nobody had a true vision of what it was going to be. Either a fashion show happening down there, or whether it was going to be a party or a rave, or they didn't really know. And we came in that early stage and suggested some things. But Rob Hardy had a vision. He wanted to hang a sun, one end, a sun, and it started off as a 30-foot diameter sun. He didn't know how to make a sun, but he'd been in the Tate Modern about 10 years before, and in there they'd built a sun, and you'd lay in a turbine hall, look up at the ceiling, and there'd be a beautiful sun one end. And he showed me ideas and talked to me about the sun, so I started to do a bit of research. It turned out that sun took a year to design. It was sodium lamps. It was a mirrored ceiling they installed. It took a month to put the mirrored ceiling in. It was a half sodium backed screen that gave an orange glow, a hum of orange light, and they were just, I looked at the design, they were just fixed to batten with a cheap bit of cloth that hung in front, and as you laid on your back it looked like a full sun at the end of the turbine hall, and it had the most amazing sort of visual quality. And he had this crazy idea that he wanted to put a sun in the Grand Palais. Now they had a month to install theirs. We had 2 days. Not only the sun, they wanted to have a 50-foot ring light built above the DJ booth. And as ideas started coming in and what the theme of it was going to be, it turned out it was going to be a rave, or a party stroke rave. Then of course we're talking about 60 moving lights around the perimeter. How are we going to light the walls? 200 sky panels. We're going to put in 12 Wendy lights to ramp up the light from the sun. We're going to have lasers. We're going to put video walls in. Once you get a little taste of what the theme is, everyone starts running away with it. Art department, us, effects, visual effects, DPs, and all these ideas were just coming at me every day. I was being bombarded with new ideas, and the sun went from 25-foot diameter. We done some tests at Leavesden. I got material from a cinema screen company that had a slight diffusion to it, but it was also a cream material, give it a nice colour. And we started smashing Wendy lights into it to try and get the colour of the sun, the intensity of how we were going to do it. Turned out that LEDs weren't going to work, because we designed a 40-foot LED wall that we'd designed with light mat, and it was going to have round edges, but you'd piece it all together and pull it up. That would be the sun in the Palais. Then I had a panic one night thinking about it, that if one strip failed, you're going to have a part of a sun. So I decided that, not the best light to use on this occasion. So I came up with an idea that we could build a 30-foot diameter sun using moving lights on a truss, round truss, 6 metre diameter truss, with pin moving lights all the way around it, project them onto a screen to create a sun. Now, on angle, moving lights are slightly elliptical, so you could never get a pure, centered focus, and as they run around, you'd do a pretty good job, and we ran some tests. And Rob Hardy would come in every day and say, it's not big enough, not big enough. And it turned out he wanted to go as big as 50 foot. We went to recce the Palais, and I'd walk in, and it was one of those moments where you stand on a recce and you just think, let's break this down into small bits. What's the power requirements going to be here? Have they got enough power? Are we going to need generators? How much cable are we going to need to distribute all of this? Where's the sun going to go? What's the weight loaded on the roof of the Grand Palais? It was only 1.5 tons every 6 metres. worked out our sun, by the time we'd fully designed it, it's going to weigh about 4.5 tonne. How are we going to spread the load? What are we going to do with the ring light? How are we going to hang the ring light over the DJ booth? There's stunts they're going to be swinging through. How are we going to work it out with them that, you know, our chains need to be at certain angles so they can have their stunt sequence? Then you're into video walls. Who's powering those? Where are we going to position them? LED lighting around the DJ booth. How can we hide the cables? Sky panels around the whole place. Moving lights around the whole place. Strobe lights around the whole place. Lasers, projectors. And it becomes overwhelming. And you sort of scribbling down notes. You're walking around, you go into the gantry, it's 180 foot high to the gantry. And you've got to hang lights off all this. You know, you've got to find chain tackle and motors that are that long. You've got to start looking at rigging companies in Paris. You know, first and foremost, who normally rigs in the Grand Palais? So let's find out those guys. Let's get their number. They're going to be a great asset to us. You know, are we going to source the equipment from Paris? Have they got this much equipment? You know, can we get 60 guys to put this in? We had 2 days to rig this. 2 days, 48 hours from start to finish till we started shooting. What's the logistics of getting 60 guys? Who's going to feed the 60 guys? You know, it's just all these facts and figures and emotions on a. This is just one location on Mission Impossible. That there were many more crazy ideas. But this was the biggest one, I think, for us, with the shortest time span. Are we going to take a UK rigging crew down? Is the shooting crew going to go down and rig it? You know, it's all these questions that needed answering. And I thought Rob Hardy was mad, to be quite honest with you. You know, who's going to build a 50-foot sun in 2 days? So we started building it, testing it. Spoke to Joe, can we chase 6-foot fluorescents? Because the 4-foots just look too small on a 50-foot diameter truss. You know, can we put 6-foots on it? Will we be able to chase them? You know, and all those questions needed answering. So you break it down into the small elements. Right, let's concentrate on the sun. What can we do? So we came up with the idea that we had a 12-metre diameter truss, circle made by a company that builds truss. Then you've got to have it strength tested, and we had plates put all the way around it because lamps aren't meant to be perched on truss in a vertical position. So we had to have a certificate to prove it was safe before it went into the Palais that had been designed and strength tested and calculated. We had the plates made so you bolt the moving light straight on. You'd lay the truss down, bolt them all on, hoist it up. Then we had to design the textile that was going to go in front.
Using an app, we've worked out that from 50 foot away with a beam angle of its widest 55 degrees, the Roby BFML blades would project nicely onto a 50-foot diameter textile.
So we'd have this 50-foot diameter piece of textile fixed to a 50-foot truss with a 12-metre ring of moving lights that's going to project onto it. And because we weren't going for a square material anymore, because we had the roundness, you could project the moving lights so that it wouldn't matter if they spilt over or overlapped a bit, focus them, diffuse them a little bit, and it would project the most beautiful, you know, amber coloured projection onto this 50-foot diameter textile. Then we had to work out how to hang it. I went probably 8 times to the Palais on recce's just to meet structural engineers to work out how the rigging company, Novelty Rigging we found out there, were going to pull up several trusses, probably 16 metres long either side, to span the weight, which would then hang motors on to pull the sun and the rig up. Then after testing, it became apparent, because we'd done all these tests back at the studio, we needed more light behind it. So we hung 4 Scorpion Wendy lights in between the circle and pulled them up just behind the circle with double full amber to just smash even more light into this sun. So, you know, that was the plan, that was the game plan. Then we worked on the ring light with the practicals. Then we worked on how we'd physically and logistically get all that installed in 2 days. Decided to ship all the gear down from Warner Brothers. Obviously Jackie and Sandra at Warner Brothers, I've got a great working relationship with. They managed to pull it out of the bag. They sent 12 18-ton trucks down just for that one setup on Mission Impossible. That all had to be coordinated. You know, Gary Owen became the rigging gaffer for that part of the film, just that the French part of the film. Coordinating, moving all that kit down, unloading all that kit, you know, along with art department and everyone else who's trying to get in. We built a whole document, and it was done every hour by hour on who should be where, how we would liaise with other departments, when the video walls would come in, what trucks would come in first, when the sky panels would be coming, where all the boxes were going to be put, because it was a fire hazard. You're not allowed to keep any kit in the Grand Palais that's not in operation. What trucks they'd go on. Everything had to be numbered, sequenced, timed, down to the finest detail. And of course, Gary Owen was fantastic at coordinating the actual installation and that, the rigging of that. We were shooting elsewhere. I couldn't even get a close eye on it. You know, and I'd turn up once we'd wrapped the first night, walk in and think, Jesus, are we actually going to achieve this? You've only got 24 more hours. They work night and day for 24 hours to get it in, and we had a fantastic French rigging crew. We had a few of our own guys go over there. Gary Owen headed it up, and Lee Eldred liaised between myself and Gary, and they achieved it. They got all this stuff hanging in there. Dan Walters, the desk op, he was down there, done a fantastic job. We had to time code it all with the song, the tracks. We'd already programmed in looks and the track, and every time the track started, the lights had to start the same place, the chasers had to work, the lasers had to be time coded in, the video wall. It was epic. It was just the most overwhelming experience, but you know, a few deep breaths. We knew we'd planned it well. We didn't know whether we could achieve it in the time, but everything seemed to work on paper. And there was one moment, I went in on the last night to see how they were getting on, and for some reason I hadn't thought of this. We'd use these moving lights to project onto the sun. They're flashing everything out. Everything's looking great. We've got music playing, Atmos in there. It's starting to come together. You know, we've worked around other departments. The stunt department had to get wires up. You know, the set deck had to come in and dress it. Everyone had worked well, and I'm thinking we might just pull this off. And as I walked up the ramp in the Palais, it's like walking into 2 Wembley stadiums. It's absolutely immense. I looked at the sun hanging there, and it was on a lovely glow, and I thought to myself, I haven't thought of this. And I don't know why. Most people would have thought of it. I hadn't. Got all this lovely round truss behind it with all the moving lights projecting onto it. I thought, wouldn't it be great if at a push of a button they all fan out and do sun rays all the way. I don't know why I hadn't thought of that, but I hadn't. And so I got Dan, the desk op, to program them all in their focus point onto the screen. Now I said, just tip them all up, 10 or 15 degrees. And we went round, I stood at the back and set them all so they were all nice and uniform. Once we got the Atmos in there, I put it back to normal. And as the DP and the director walked in for the first night shooting, I said, come and have a look at this. Look at the sun, it look amazing. Everyone was pleased with it. The Wendy lights were glowing. Beautiful looking sun hanging there with the ring light cutting through the middle of it. I said, now look at this. And we pressed the button on the iPad and it just went into sun rays. And the Wendy lights came up a bit behind. And it just looked like the most magnificent achievement that, we were ever so proud of, and we've managed to pull it off within the 48 hours, and everyone was blown away by it. And at that point, we started running the show that we had programmed, and all the sun strips came onto the music, and we'd really smashed it out the park on that occasion. And the director and the DP just looked at me and said, we're going to be right in here. We've smashed this. This is everything and more. So thanks to everyone that worked on that and achieved that. But that's got to be the most memorable location, largest location by a long shot that I've ever worked on. And it's down to the team, really, pulling it off. But great pride in that one. Yeah.